Hey, good morning. It's January 4th. I thought it was the perfect day for a garden tour. It's actually a little dreary, a little bit foggy. So this is the perfect time to see what the winter garden in Michigan actually looks like. We don't have a lot of super sunny days, but one of the things that I've tried to do is to create a garden that looks like a garden even in the wintertime. And I wanted to share some of the plants that are helping me to do that. So let me turn the camera around and I'll take you on a quick little tour. And we'll start the tour off in the backyard. So this is the woodland garden that you're looking at here. I've got a hornbeam hedge that separates the woodland area from the shade border. There's lots of boxwood. I've got a lot of grasses, the Japanese forest grass you can see on the left side of the path there. I keep the hydrangea flowers up in the wintertime, so I've got a little interest. You can see the brown color there. And lots of boxwood, lots of yew, lots of arborvitae to add interest. And as we walk along the path, you can see I do add a little bit of bird feed in the wintertime on the path. I love to watch the birds. And this path takes you around to the garden that I call my shade border, but I refer to it as the Mary Garden because I've got a wonderful statue here. So I love this statue of the Virgin Mary. I got this actually at a local store, and it was, you can see that it's missing its left hand, so it was actually, it wasn't even for sale. I talked the guy into letting me have it. It is a solid marble statue, and that thing, even though it doesn't look like it, weighs about 800 or 900 pounds. So I do keep again, the Annabelle hydrangeas are still up in the garden there just for a little bit of winter interest. And at the foot of the statue in the springtime, I've got Brunera. You can still see a little bit of Lamian as far as the ground cover is concerned. And I've got some boxwood here. And another wonderful plant that is worth growing in a shade garden is the hellebore. So, I mean, here we are, January 4th, and this plant looks fantastic. It holds its evergreen color during the wintertime. Once the spring comes, I'm going to clean these leaves up and they will bloom probably in the March timeframe here in Michigan. And this is the vantage point of the shade border looking out from, the vantage point of the statue. And I've got some round boxwood that I've lined the edge of the border with just to have a little bit of winter interest. And you can see also that I'm fortunate because the hornbeam keep their leaves during the wintertime. This hornbeam hedge is one of my very favorite things in the garden. It kind of creates a secret garden. It kind of walls off the other part of the backyard from the shade border. And you can see that the leaves, even though it is deciduous, the leaves will fall. They tend to keep the leaves until right up until the springtime, unless there's a very huge wind. But for the most part here in my garden, these brown leaves will stay until the spring. I know the electrical cord does not look all that attractive, but I'm trying out for the first time a heater for my bird bath so that the birds can have water during the wintertime. And that's working out great. Now, this always tends to be one of my favorite things to do at this time of the year because I'm just desperate to be in the garden. So you can see here, those are Shasta daisies, and I love to see the green. Just kind of gives me hope for the springtime. All right, and as we walk down the shade border, we'll come to the end here, and we've got an arborvitae hedge along the back of the property, and then here you can see my main flower borders. This is a typical Michigan winter day, and the thing that I like and the thing that I've tried to do is to create a garden that still looks like a garden even though it's the winter time. This used to go out to my mother-in-law's house, and my mother-in-law passed away in September, so we have secured that gate, and we just sold the house, and we have some great new neighbors that are living on the other side now. Another element that adds a lot of structure that I really appreciate in the garden are the paths, because even in the winter, if it's snow covered, you can still see the garden paths, and it does provide you an idea of, that the garden is there and you can walk through the garden. It has gotten pretty cold for sections of the of this winter time this year, but right now it's pretty mild. I'd say it's about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The winter garden's got mostly shades of brown. I actually love the shades of brown, but you know, it's just such a different look from the springtime garden, but it's still a lot of beauty that you can go outside, you can get outside and just walk around the garden, and I don't know, it just makes me feel so much better. And the side yard is got an arbor. That's how you go through it. It's got honeysuckle and also chocolate vine. And the chocolate vine tends to stay a little bit evergreen during the winter time, so that looks pretty cool. And then again, I've got boxwood and arborvitae. Here we are in the front yard, and we've got a huge amount of pachysandra under the tree. And then I've got a couple big flower borders. So this is the latest section that I actually created in the yard at the end of the fall. So that's why there really isn't much planted here in terms of evergreens. There are quite a few plants that I did plant. I grabbed a bunch of stuff from my mother-in-law's garden, and this is going to be the area that I work on in the springtime. So I'm pretty excited about that. You can see it is it's a lot of flower garden, and I am planning on having some fun with it because this is actually going to get some sunshine. So we live on a corner lot, so you get an idea of how this front area looks. That big flower border, I'm excited to be working on that in the springtime. And then we've just got our side yard, and you can see the arborvitae hedge, and that's what you saw inside of the backyard. And then if I follow this around, you can see kind of like one of the things that I do like to do is just have some different colors in the winter garden. So the 9-bark, even though it doesn't have its leaves, it still looks kind of cool with the brown leaves that are left, surrounded by the boxwood. So the boxwood gives it a nice framework. And then I've also got some barberries here that add some great winter color. I mean, just look at those berries that are still out on this tree. They look fantastic. And then I do have a path. I've got some pachysandra back here, and then this is the path that leads to the side yard. And if I turn this around and we walk down the path the same way, we can see the other flower border in the front yard. And this is the side yard from the other end of the arbor. One of my favorite things that I have in the garden is this wayside shrine. I've got this little statue of St. Francis of Assisi, and he overlooks the side garden. I've got standard forms of Rose of Sharon trees along the one side, and I've got arborvitae along the other side. So it kind of creates like this little secret entrance into the garden, which is kind of fun. And then we made this little arbor from some scrap wood. My husband made that for me the other year. And then again, this path leads to what used to be my mother-in-law's house, which the house has been sold since my mother-in-law passed away. And so now that gate is closed up. Hey, so thanks for joining me on the tour of the quick winter garden, and I'll catch you in the next video.